I just want to be sure that everyone can hear me. Okay, I think I have a signal since Polumi already started the call. Good day to every one of us, and thanks for joining the Analytics Mastery series. This is a session that we started quite a while ago, and the aim of this is so that we sort of give back to the society as regards some technical learnings. We want to bring to us seasoned professionals in the field of data analytics who will be sharing from what they know, what they do, so that those of us that are just starting out, or those of us that would want some sort of refresher, we could have this to serve that particular purpose. So this episode of the Analytics Mastery series is that of the August 2024, and we have this every single month. And most times it's usually the last Saturday of the month, so we can keep that date in mind. And in case for whatever reason, if that would change, hopefully one of what we'll start doing is to send reminder emails based on whatever date that would have the session scheduled for. So that is how we've been running the session, and so far we've touched on a number of topics which are around SQL, Power BI majorly, but over the time we might start to discuss some things around some other tools in analytics, Excel, Python, Tableau, and a number of other things because of the rebranding that we give to it, which is now Analytics Master Series. So, which essentially would now mean that we would not be restricting ourselves to Microsoft technologies or Microsoft Power BI and SQL alone, but would be at some point in time we'll start to touch on some other areas of analytics as well. So this sessions we have it designed in a way that it will be solving some practical scenarios. We want to bring in people that will discuss, yes, concepts, certain topics, but we're going to drive it with some scenarios around it so that practically we can all see how things are being run in the industry. We can all have an idea of how to go about certain scenarios when we find ourselves in such scenarios, and we are able to get a quick fix at some other things that we might run into. So this is a general overview of the analytics master series, how we've come, and what we intend to rebrand it into. So that I do not take too much of our time with this introduction. I know this is something that would come over time. We keep reiterating certain things up to everyone is pretty clear about what our visions are and what we intend to achieve with the community. So today we want to discuss a very important concept in Power BI, but not at the basic level essentially. So we know that in anybody's Power BI journey, one of what would always happen is that at some point in time, if you really do want to scale your Power BI skill set, you want to be very adept at working and building solutions in Power BI. One of the key things that you should have in your arsenal is your skill set with DAX. So many times people complain about DAX, or they're finding DAX difficult. They are not finding it easy. They run into a lot of roadblocks and stuff like that. But this session is going to demystify some of these things, and we are going to look at DAX for advanced reporting. How should you see DAX and how it can come in to do some advanced stuff in Power BI. And today, my humble self, as you already do know, I'm usually a moderator because I don't have much to share. So I have a very good boss of mine with us on the call today. What will be driving this conversation, who would be taking us through the topic of discourse for today. And I want to seek our indulgence, everyone present. If possible, you have some platform that you know that this will be of immense value to. You could share this with them so that they can take part in this conversation as well. So the person that would be driving this conversation today is Oloruntoba Fasakin, who is a senior analyst and a senior BI developer. So you will be the one to drive this conversation this afternoon. Feel free to take down points. Feel free to use the chat section to document your questions. So when it opens up the floor for questions, we'll look at whatever questions we have available and then those will be duly attended to. So this session is projected to last 2 hours maximum. So we're starting now. We are 13 minutes into the hour already. So which means that we have practically 1 hour 47 minutes to run the session, including the Q&A. We would ensure that we don't exceed 2 hours because we know that people have other commitments for the weekend as well. All right, so at this point, I would be inviting Toba to take over the screen, and so we can go on with this conversation. For the benefit of those that are joining us for the first time, my name is Mohsen Hamid. Over to you, Oloruntoba.
Thank you for that warm introduction, Muslim. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Toba.
Good. Thank you. And Muslim, I think one thing you mentioned that your humble self is someone that doesn't know too much when it comes to DAX. I think you need to rephrase that. So I want to
That's why I joined the session, Toba, so that I can learn. Yeah, so I need to also start doing some advanced thing in DAX. So I'm here. All right.
Well, the fact that we all are here shows that we actually have been doing something in DAX, and it's going to be something we all are going to do together. It's not just to be done by me all along. So we all are going to come in one time, chip in one thing or the other. So I would make it as much as an interactive session so that we all can flow alongside. I think it's not such a large class. It's a class that we can still manage. I think we have like a handful number of people here. So can still manage the class, and I would really want it to be an interactive session that way. So let me share my screen. Okay. I don't think that person is reminding me. You've not even greeted us. You've not said good afternoon. So let me do that. Good afternoon, everyone, and you're welcome to this session. So let me share my screen. Do I still know how to share screen? I think I still do. So my Windows.
It's been a while, right?
Okay, so confirm you can see my screen. So this is my of course this is my slide deck. So I would like I said, it will be more of an interactive session. I'll take us through some things, the element of things we want to discuss. We'll go fully into Power BI. Of course, I know many of us we want to actually just go into Power BI. Let's start something, but we'll take it slowly into Power BI. So this is myself, Oloruntoba Fasakin, like I said before, and as Muslim has said, I'm a business intelligence analyst, and if you want to reach me on LinkedIn, Oloruntoba Fasakin, on Twitter, it's X now, so on X @_Tvok, and that's just me. People say that name, Tvok, what does it mean? I really don't know to myself. And you're welcome to this analytics series monthly meetup. All right, and for this our DAX class, we're looking at DAX functions that relate to filter. So I know many of us. Let me do a survey. How many of us have written DAX before? Show of hands, so you can drop it in the chat if you have written DAX before. Esther is saying she can't see my screen. Who else can't see my screen? Confirm if you can't see my screen. Who else can't see my screen?
She said she can see the screen now.
Oh, okay. How come the chat is not coming up anymore? Okay, good. So how many of us have at one time written DAX? How many of us have at one point we've written DAX? Really not complex, maybe even if it is simple DAX. Just show about. Let's see. Okay, I can see now. Okay, Taku has written DAX before. Blessing has done so too. Any other person? Abdul Samad, Abdul Kadri, Esther, Covenant. I think Panimitu is supposed to, yeah. So you're a facilitator, and so let's know if you have written DAX before. Okay, Esther has written DAX. Okay, Abdul Samad has. I really want feedback from everybody. That's how I know I gauge our so I know how far I can go. I think some people on the second scale, then go, you can't escape. Wafia Kende, have you written DAX before? Taiwo, you're welcome. Have we all written DAX before? Let's signify. You can put it in the chat. You can use the AMP tool. If you want to unmute your mic, that's absolutely fine too. So let's confirm. Are we all familiar with DAX? We've written DAX before. We are used to writing DAX. The reason why I'm asking is I do not expect us to come. Ideally, it's supposed to be for an advanced DAX. So I don't want to go on and on thinking we all are on the same page why we are not. So I just want to know so I know how to go about the class. All right, Rafia has done it before. Thank you, Rafia. So I think I will just tap you on to something. Okay, I Taku. Okay, Taku has been there. Okay, so now let's go into what I wanted to actually do. So since I've done this survey and I see most of us have written DAX before, so we are familiar with DAX to some extent. So I think we are good to go. So we're looking at DAX functions related to filter. When it comes to DAX, there are different types of DAX. There are DAX that are related to date. There are DAX that are related to text. There are DAX that are related to time intelligence. There are different diversities of DAX. So for this session, we're going to look at the ones related to filter. Of course, many of us would have written DAX that relates to aggregation. You are doing your sum, your count, all those are DAX too. So it's DAX, but of course, those are the basic. They call them anchor DAX measures. So anchor DAX measures, those are the basic. You must first write down before you start going to filter, before you start going to time intelligence, before you start going to well, maybe dates. You may write your dates before those, but your anchor goes before this other DAX I've mentioned. So your time intelligence DAX measures can be your simply your last year, can be your previous year measure, can be your simply your last year. I've mentioned that could be your last month, previous year, could be diverse things related to date. So those are your time intelligence. And when I say functions related to text, maybe you are using your left, you are using your mid, you are using your find, search, many things, contain string. So there are many DAX that are related to text. But we want to look at the ones related to filter. And when I say filter means you are breaking something down. All right, so we are breaking something down. And when it comes to DAX functions that relates to filter, we have different functions. We have the filter function is related to filter. We have the where. This where is coined by me. So I would explain what it is. So just pardon this where function. Perhaps someone is already looking where did I see where function in DAX. So but it's something coined by me. So we have the all selected, we have the all except, we have the keep filters, we have the remove filters. But my major focus will be the all selected and all except. So this will be my major focus in this session. Of course, I will show you how this filter where works, and maybe the keep filter, remove filters, how they work. But my core focus will be the all selected and all except. And like I see, if you look at my screen now, you see that there are etc. That means there are a lot of other DAX functions. I'll probably take you to Microsoft Learn so you can see all the DAX functions that are related to filter. It's a whole lot. I can't cover everything in 2 hours, obviously. So I just selected these ones to actually look at. All right. So now, when it comes to filter, what does filter means? This is according to Microsoft Learn. All right, so filter means that if you use the filter function, that means you want to return a table that represents a subset of another table or expression. That means you have a big table, you want to now break it down into subsets. So you want to return a table that represents a subset of another table. Filter function can be used for a table, can be used for a measure. So can be used for a measure, can be used to create a table too. So this filter function works, the table works with creating measures. So that's why you're seeing returns a table that represents a subset of another table or expression. So that is what a filter function speaks to. I would just give it definition. Of course, I'm still going to go into part where we would actually use these functions, but I want us to have an idea of what they mean. So when I go into Power BI, it will not look so was so strange to us or so alien to us. Now, the next one is the where. And then the where is more like the SQL function called where. Like I said, this is something I coined myself. So when you want to filter that thing, your DAX or your your data down, you can use the equals function, equals sign, I mean not function, equals sign to actually define your condition of your filter. So this I call where. So I would show you Power BI so you understand what this really means. Of course, like I said, it is something coined by me. I don't know if there's a proper name given to it, but I have not seen, so that's why I called him where. Okay, next one is the all returns all the rows in the table or all the values in the column, ignoring any filters that might have been applied. Basically, what all means is that ignore filter. Ignore filter. I'll still speak about something called filter context. So I will not mention it now, but when I talk about filter context, then this all will come in handy. But basically, just in your mind, put all as ignoring filter. Ignore filter. That is what all means. Okay, so some people are still saying they can't see my screen. I hope you can now. So all second, let me say synonym. Just synonym for all is ignore filter. Ignore filter. Just remember, ignore filter. Ignore any filter. And then the next one is all selected. All selected works just like all would work. But the only thing that that differs all from all selected is that all would both the filter on the visual you are using or an external filter, maybe your slicers and all, would not affect your DAX. But all selected will work with your filter from outside of the visual you have used the measure. It may not be too clear, but I will explain. We'll see it in working. But just have that at the back of your mind that is what all selected really does. And remember that it's still more like ignoring filters too. It's related to the all. All is ignoring filters, but this time if you are ignoring filters, you are not just ignoring filters from, if you are using all, you are ignoring filters of the visual you are using and any external filter. So maybe your slicer, it will ignore the filters coming from those. But all selected will not ignore the filter coming from an external entity like a slicer. I will show us what those mean as we go on. Next one I want to look at is all except. All except English, ignore filter except. So it removes all context filters in table except filters that have been applied to specific. So you specify the columns I want to not ignore filters on. So that is what all except means. So ignore all the filters except this column. So that is what all except means. Ignore filter except this column. And I will be looking at keep filters, remove filters. If time permits, I will look at this keep filters and remove filters. Like I said, they are related to, keep filters is related to your filter and where, and then remove filters is related to your all. Yeah, it's related to your all. So if I have done this, you probably will be able to do the other two. So you probably be able to do the other two. But I will probably show us a time permit how to do that in Power BI. I want to believe you are clear so far. Are we clear? Are we good? Are we good? Confirm, confirm. Like I said, we are doing this together. You are not leaving this to me alone to do. Okay, good, good. We are clear. Super. So now let's look at something called filter context. Filter context, and this is where we'll go into Power BI. Filter context is nothing but a filter currently active on the data model. So let me give an example. If you say, if you have a visual up and then you are doing it by location, by revenue, the filter context in this scenario is the location. That means the location is filtering your revenue. It's breaking your revenue down. So that's why you now have revenue different location made. So that's a filter context. It is a context, a filter currently active in your data model. Basically, data model is your data. So that's the filter currently active. So if I change that location, if I change it to maybe my product, it's now products that is the filter context in that situation. Let's look at that in Power BI. So let me I mean, let me share again. I think I did not share my full screen. Um, okay. So can you see my screen now? I want to believe you can see my screen. Yeah, okay. Musin has confirmed. Thank you. So now let's look at what filter context is before we go into this DAX, writing this DAX and all that. So if I want to do a filter context, now, let me just show what a filter context is. So if I say so this is, before I even do this, let me just give you a brief overview of the data. This is not like the Northwind data set. It's the popular one. So I know many of us will be familiar. I just broke them down into different dimensions of the fact. So, but we probably would have this data. If you can open it, fine. If you want to just focus, and then afterwards, since the recording will be shared, I want it to be shared. If you stay to the end of the session, I want the recording will be shared for you. So you can now go over the recording and then now build. So I prefer I watch, learn, then afterwards now go to the, of course, watching and learning means I would have questions during the session. And afterwards now go over the recording and then do. But if you are that fast a learner, you can do and watch at the same time. Perfect. All right. But if you can't follow up, maybe I may be too fast for you, can keenly watch and afterwards now do your practice over the recording. All right. So now, like I said, the filter context, if I come here now and I tick on, let's say, sales amount, and then I want to see sales amount by, say, staff. Say maybe our staff first name. Let me put this in a table so that it's clearer. So you can see, before I put the staff, so this is our sales amount. This is sales amount alone. All right. So this is sales amount alone. Now it has no filter per se. It's just sales amount. Now when I put in my first name, what would the first name do? It will filter down our sum of sales amount to now break it down. And then row by row, of course, that's what they call evaluation context, the row context, the filter context. But I'm looking at filter context majorly for this class. Now you can see that the name has broken this down into, has filtered it down into each name each individual did in terms of sales. So it has broken it down. So this first name here is the filter context here. So it has broken it down. Stephen, this, Michael, this, Anna, this. So this is the filter that has been applied, which is the staff first name. All right. So that is what it is called a filter context. Now, if you want to go on and then want to see, so like I said, we want to write some level of DAX now. So let's write some level of DAX to actually speak into those things I've mentioned. I'll show you how the filter works, and then I'll show you how to how the equal sign, the where, which are more like the equal. Those are the maybe the basic ways of doing your breakdown of this data or your whatever DAX filter you want to write. So let me explain what those things do before I go into it. Now, if I want to break this down, let's say I've seen our staff and then the sum of sales they've made. Now I want to now say, okay, let me use someone as a benchmark. Let me use someone as a benchmark. I want to use maybe Andrew, or let me see who got the highest. Okay, Margaret, who was the highest person. I want to see what each person did compared to what Margaret did compared to each person. So I want to put the amount for Margaret's sales by the side. I want to put the sum of amount Margaret sold by the side so as to be able to just look side by side what you did compared to what Margaret did. All right, so if I come here and then I'll come to, okay, ideally for my DAX, I love them being in a table. I love them organized in a table on its own. So I would have a table for my DAX. For me to do that, I'll just come under enter data here. Come under enter data here. Are we good so far? Are we clear so far? Let me know. Assume you all are together. Are we clear so far? Anything not clear to us? Are we clear so far? Can call this my DAX table. And then I load.
Sorry, Toba.
Okay.
Just to cut in, the looks like you only shared your Power BI window, so we didn't see the dialog box that popped up.
When I wanted to create this table, right?
Yes, we didn't see how you went by.
Okay, I would do that again, and maybe I would share my screen again so that it's clear what's
And if possible, you can zoom into your screen a bit. That will be helpful.
okay. Okay, thank you for the feedback. Just give me a minute. Let me share my screen again. Okay, can you see now? And let me zoom in. So, like I said, if I'm to do this, I'll come under my enter data, click on my enter data. Can you see the pop-up?
Yes.
And oh, good. So now I will just give my table a name. I'll call it DAX table or DAX measures, anything you want to call it. So I'll call it DAX table and I'll click on load. That means I want to create a new table which would host my DAX measures. All right. So click on the enter data, just give your table a name and then click on load. That's all you are to do. Okay, so now you can see my DAX table is here. So you can see my DAX table is here, and it will come with a column by default. Every table must have at least a column. So that means you can't delete this column. If you delete this column, the entire table will go off because there can be an empty table. There must be something in that table. So for you to do that, just come here. If you want to remove that column, just come here and create at least a measure. Create a measure at the very least. So the first measure I want to create is maybe I want to, since I've done sum of sales amounts, I want to create our sum of sales amounts as an anchor measure. Who wants to tell me why am I creating that sum of sales amount again? Who wants to answer that my question? Why am I creating sum of sales amount again? Since I already have this here. Who wants to help me? Why am I creating this again? I'm waiting. You can unmute your mic. You can unmute your mic. Am I doing this again? Who's helping me? Let me be sure people are following. Yeah,
I missed the question, Oloruntoba.
Yeah, I can sleep.
Yeah, I missed the question.
So I said I want to write a DAX that would give me the sum of our sales amount. So I'm not asking that. Why do I need to write that DAX since we already have our sum of sales amounts here? Do you get the question
Hello,
now?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think we need to write the measure as an explicit DAX so we can use it in other DAX queries.
Yep, super. Thank you so much. Yes, so if you look at this one here, it's called an implicit measure. The one Power BI has done for us, this one here is an implicit measure. So if you want to use a measure to actually write other measures, you need to create yourself, and that's what we call explicit measure. The measures created by yourself is called explicit measure. So that is why I need to write that measure so that I can use it any other time I want to probably write other advanced DAX, I want to write other DAX and all that. If I do not write this sum of sales amount again, I can't reference this one Power BI as. So that is the reason why I need to write this my measure again. I hope that's clear. Thank you so much for that response. So for me to do this, I'll use the so for me to write the sum of sales amounts, what's the function to use? What's the DAX function to use? What's the DAX function to use? Echo, we should echo this loud. For me to write this sum of sales amount, what's the function to use? We should echo this loud. I expect more. For me to do this, what's the function to use?
The function is the sum function or
Sum function.
sum.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. What's happening? Many of us that have been writing DAX, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? How is this one looking? I'm only hearing someone's voice. Others, what's happening? So I'll say now, column name. Sum is asking for the column name. For this column name, I'll come under, I want to sum the sales amount. So I'll come to the table. I must put the table alongside, and then the column I want to actually sum up. So that's the fact sales, the table. Remember, that's the name of the table. And then the column name is the sales amount. So I'll just click tab and then close. And then I'll press enter. If you want to see or verify the DAX I've written, I want to see if it is correct. If I click here now, oh, sorry, I'm supposed to give my DAX a name. I don't, it should not just be measure. Measure is not a name of my DAX. So I can just say sales amount sum, or maybe total sales. Let me give it total sales. English should not be too much. Total sales. Total sales, and I will take this in. Now it's obviously to give me the same thing as this because I'm basically replicating the sales amount. Now we've gotten our anchor. They call these DAX measures the anchor, so that it leads to me building other things. Remember at the start I said your anchor measure is the very first thing. It's one of the most important DAX you must first write before you write every other DAX you want to write in your report. Now we've written the anchor, which is the total sales in this context. Your anchor measure could be anything, but in this context, we just need total sales for now. Now I want to use the equal sign, and then I want to use the filter function too. Let's say it works. So if I come here, come back to this, I can now remove this column 1. Since I've written a DAX, I can now remove this column 1. I don't need it anymore, so I can delete it. I can delete this column 1. Remember, I said that your table must host at least a column or a measure. So now that it has a measure, I can delete that column and to go. So my DAX table is fine here. So I'll come back here. I'll come back here and then I'll do new measure. New measure. So remember that I said our case study is want to use Margaret as a benchmark. So I want to say Margaret, I'll just say Margaret's sales equals to who's going to help me out here? How do I go about this? First, I'll use calculate. Calculate, sorry, I've helped myself. I know someone wanted to help me, but I've helped myself. So calculate will now say calculate what? The total sales. Remember that measure I wrote, total sales. Now, if I had not written total sales, if I do sales now, you can see that this my sales amount will not come out. Open up. Yep. So this my sales amount will not come up. If I type sales now, it will not come up. The only one that will come up is the total sales, because every other one will not come up because they are implicit. So you cannot use them any other place, in any other place. But the one you do yourself can be used in anywhere in your report. So that's the difference. Implicit is done by Power BI, which cannot be referenced in another sequence of DAX. So you know that DAX you want to write, but explicit can be used over and over again. Now I'm going to do total sales. Total sales, now calculate my total sales. That means go to my total sales, pick my total sales, and then I want to filter it by something. That's the expression. Go to my total sales, and then next is to filter it by something. So I can use the filter function here. So a filter function here, and then I'll go to tell it to go to my D_staff. Are we together? The reason I'm telling you to go to my D_staff because it's requesting for a table, and my staff, my Margaret is in my staff table. Remember, Margaret is in this D dimension, D staff. So that's where Margaret is. So I'm telling you to go to my staff, this staff table, comma, and then where the first name, this staff first name equals in any DAX function you're writing, anything even in Excel, anything in text would be in quotation mark. So I'm going to put equals Margaret. Remember that it has to be the same spelling. It has to be the same spelling. And then I close and I close. So if I enter this now, okay. So if I enter this now, if I click on this, so you can see Margaret sales is here. And if I now want to say, okay, let me now make it go over the entire, I want to make it go over the entire, what's it called? Visual, row by row, so I can visualize Janet compared to Margaret. I can now use the one I called you where. Remember the one I called you where. So this is me right under DAX. I will not write the other one. So I'm just giving you different scenarios of how you can filter down your what's it called? Your data. You can see this one, this filter I wrote now only gave us one for Margaret. Now I can take the sales of Margaret, and then I can easily just say total sales, what each person did minus what they have sold here. So this will give me what the differences between Janet sales to Margaret sales, difference between Nancy sales to Margaret sales, difference between Andrew sales to Margaret sales, if I want to do that. Or perhaps I want to actually have them side by side just to visualize, to see side by side. Then I can use the one I called the where. So I can call it mag sales to equals to, I'll do calculate again, total sales, comma, and then the filter is now D_staff. D_staff first name equals to what? Margaret, and then I close this. Once I close it, if I put this, if I click enter now, and then I put this in now. So you can see this is Margaret's sales side by side. So I can just bring it up here now and say, bring it to this second layer here, and then I'm saying, okay, Margaret, this is it. This against this, this against this, this against this, this against this, this against this. So this is me breaking down Margaret's sales. I'm using Margaret as a benchmark to break down, to compare other people's sales. Are we together? Have I gone ahead of anyone?
There's no video camera.
I did not catch that. I want to believe we are together. So since there are no feedback, that means we are together. So this is how we can. So we've seen the where, we've seen the what's it called? The filter function.
Sorry, please. The last one.
I should do what?
Can you recap the last calculation you did now? I didn't get it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So basically what I did was to now say, I'm saying total sales. I say like I did for the other one, go over to my total sales. Using the calculate function, go to my total sales. Now the filter, instead of using the filter function, I can now use the where, the one I call where, which is more like the SQL where is in SQL, not in Power BI, but I'm just using that because I probably don't have a name, so that I gave it to where, because it's more like you are specifying where first name equals to Margaret. So that's why I call it the where function. So I would just call it, I'll say d underscore staff. So I want to filter it by the first name where it is equals to what? Where it's equal to Margaret. Remember, it has to be the same spelling so that you don't have different results. So once I click on that, it's going to work. It's going to work. So this is how to. So this is how to actually do your what's it called? Your total sales or your Margaret sales. Let me put the Margaret sales. If you want to have someone as a benchmark, you want to compare this against the other people, maybe in the same, maybe column in the same data, in the same data type. Maybe you are your location, compare location to the other location. So you can use your filter, you can use your where. That's absolutely fine. All right. So now, if you want to now do something else, this is just for individuals in your filter context. This is just for individual. You want to compare this against this in that table. But now, there are times when you want to actually just look at the entire column and tell your Power BI, using Power BI or using your DAX and Power BI to say, ignore certain table or column when it comes to filtering. Don't allow certain tables to filter you, or don't allow certain column to filter you. Of course, I've used entity in a column to actually filter things down. And then we can also now look at certain things to actually filter something down to say, okay, you filter, you don't filter, you filter, this column, don't filter. This column in the table, you filter. This column in the same table, don't filter. So there are ways we can do that. Remember, I've explained what filter means. That means you want to break down a value. You want to break down a value field to break it down. Like I did for sales, I broke sales down into the staff name. So Margaret, Janet, they broke down our sales to what they had, which amounted to the entire total sales. So that's what we want to look at, how we can now specify columns, which one to break down or which one not to break down, or tables, which one to break down, which one not to break down. Are we good? Are we good? Feedback, good, good, good. So now let me increase this size even more. So now let's look at the all function. And the all function, like I said, is to tell Power BI that ignore any filter that can be in your data. Ignore any filter that it can be in it. So return this my sales. Let me show you again. Remember this sales amount. Remember this sales amount. I think the class is getting too silent. Let me see. I want to be sure we are together. Okay, we are good. Good, good, good. Okay, so remember this sales amount. Remember this sales amount. If we want to now do something, you want to tell Power BI, give me this entire sales amount without all this filter, without this marker, all these things filtering it down, without this first name column filtering it down, or any table filtering my data down. Just give me the entire sales amount. That's what I need. I want to compare. Maybe I want to do a percentage of what they actually did against the total, or maybe I want to get the difference, that's the variance, what Margaret did against the total, this minus the total, this minus, it depends on what you want to do. But let's take it a step after the other. So let's have Power BI give us the entire sales amount on this same table. And if you ignore the filter context in this table, remember that the filter context there is the first name. So if you ignore this first name, and it's give us the entire sales amount. So let's see how that works. Let me take this off. Let's see how that works. So if I come here, let me increase this back. So I'll come back to my DAX table, and then I'll do new measure. Come back to my DAX table, and then I'll do new measure. So I want to show you how all these things work, so that we can apply them to maybe a small case study before we round up, so that we can at least be able to see how they apply. Because if I just take us to, and we may not fully just understand how it works first, then we can now take it a notch further, maybe look at a small case study together, and then we just do. So that way, I think it will be a better way of learning that way. So I'll call this maybe all equals to, now to use all, I'll use calculate. Same calculate. Calculate is one of the most used functions in DAX. One of the most important actually, and then the most used. So I'll do calculate, and then I'll now say calculate our total sales. Remember, it's still our total sales, the anchor. Reason why I said it is important you create that anchor first. It will be the basics or the layer for every other DAX you build. Total sales. Now the filter in this case will not be, I'll not put all. Look at how it says, it returns all the rows in the table or all the values in the column, ignoring any filter that have been applied. Now, if you look at it again, show you table name or column name. That means all can do two things. It's either it's ignoring filter coming from a column, or it's ignoring filter coming from an entire table. So if you probably have, if you have like 4 columns in a table that you just want to tell your DAX to, your visual to ignore, or your filter to the filter to be ignored, then you would use 4 columns. You do column 1, column 2, column 3. You can see column name 1. You can keep going on to column name 2, 3, 4, and the likes. But if it is the entire columns in the table, so we doing column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. This is all the columns in that table. Just reference the table. Reference the table means that any column coming from that table will be ignored. Filter based on that column will be ignored. But if you do a column, that means it's only that column that you want your Power BI to ignore filter from. Every other columns in that table would fly. I will show you what I'm saying. So now if I say all, and then I want to say, let me use a table. Maybe I'll just use this stuff, since that is the filter currently in play. Yes, so I'll say this stuff, and I'll close this, and I press enter. Now let's see what our this stuff has done. Our all measure has done, I mean. I'll put in my all now. Now, putting in my all, what did you notice? It returned the total without any filter. So ignore all this filter coming from first name, blah, blah, blah. Ignore everything. If you want to be sure what it did, if I close this now, so that that means I remove the first name, you can see that everything is now 1, 3, except this, of course, this Margaret sales. The total sales is now back to what the all will give me. If I put in the first name, if I apply filter context here, which is the first name again, consider every other thing will break down, will be filtered, but your all will not be filtered. It will not be filtered because it is ignoring any filter that has been applied coming from the distaff. Remember that the filter context here is the distaff. I use the table called distaff. So now to be able to be sure what you have done, let me go to the customer table, and then let me put a column from the customer table. Look at what would happen to the all. You can see that all has broken down. Let me take the contact name here. So you can see that all has broken down. That's broken down. Why? Because we have brought in a column that is not in our staff name. Are we together? Are we together? Have I lost us? Feedback. Okay, Latifat is here with me. Okay, I don't believe we all are together then. If you're not together, please shout out so that I know where to find you quickly. So all would now be filtered because I brought in an external party, an external column beyond what was specified as the filter. Okay, so if I take this my contact name off again, to be back to what it was before. So do you get the gist of how all works? So it will ignore filter, like I said, in your mind, just when you hear all, just know that it's saying that ignore filter, ignore all filters, ignore all filters, ignore all filters. So good. So now let's go on. Glad that we are getting it. So let's go on to the next one, which is the all selected. The all selected basically works like the all. It works basically like the all, but the only difference is the capacity of the all and what the all selected will do. But I'll show us when I'm done doing this. So I'll say new measure, new measure, new measure, and then I'll call this all selected. All selected equals to, so I'll do calculate. Calculate again. Who wants to help me out? Calculate. What am I calculating? And so help me with this. What am I calculating? Unmute your mic, unmute your mic, unmute your mic. It's supposed to be an interactive session, so I should interact, or let's interact, I mean. So unmute your mic and give me what's the expression here.
Total sales.
Thank you. Total sales. And don't mute yet. What will be the filter? What will be the filter? What will be the filter? Sorry? Come again.
I didn't get the filter you want to use.
So I said want to do the all selected. Want to use all selected. So basically, obviously that will be the filter. So all selected will be the filter. So now want to use all selected. Like I said before, all selected is working alongside the same way all would work. So study you table name or column name. So it works with table, it works with columns. So I can now say, maybe let me use the table again. This staff. Then that's got staff. So let me use the table. Or this time let me use the table so I don't confuse us. Then I close this again. Then I press enter. Now if I put in my all selected, what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? Someone should let us know. What do you think would happen if I put in my all selected? What do you think would happen? If I tick my all selected in now, what do you think it will give us as a result? Or by visual?
Well, you said the other time you said all selected works similarly as all.
Okay. So that means that
Maybe,
what?
yeah.
Huh?
So maybe it's going to give us the same thing as values we have for all.
Thank you. Thank you. You're a smart lady. You're a smart lady. You actually you got what I said. You used to catch me. Nice. So it's going to be the same thing because, like I said, it works similar way. So if I put it in, it will now give us the same thing. But there's a difference between these two. I'll show you the difference. So let me just take this up. Remember I said that they work the same way, right? But the difference is this. If I put in a slicer here, if I put in a slicer, now I'm going to take down my staff. I'm going to take anything from my staff here now. So if I now check Andrew, I check Anne, I check Janet, I check Laura. Are you still any difference between the all and all selected?
Yes, yes.
What do you think is the difference?
More like it's now filtering based on what has been checked on the slicer.
Yeah. So remember I said all selected and all differs in the sense that all would anywhere, any filter coming from slicer, coming from the visual, it would ignore. But all selected would not ignore filter coming from outside of the slicer. So if you want your visual to be responsive based on what you selected in the slicer, then use all selected. This way now, this all selected is giving you the value of what Andrew and Janet and Laura have sold. But all is still giving you what everybody sold. Do you get? So this is responsive to filter coming from outside of the visual, but all would never submit to any filter, both inside your visual, your filter context, or outside of the visual you are using. Do you get? Do you get it? Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Have I lost anybody? Oh, good. It's clear. It's clear. It's clear. So nobody has been lost so far. So that is the difference between all and all selected. And another thing I should also state is this. When you're using the all or all selected, there are times it will not work. One of such times is if you've sort your column, maybe I sort my column by my first name by maybe an index number, so that I want maybe Andrew to come first. So I sort by column in my under this my data view. You know the way people sort column here. Let's say I come under this my distaff, and then maybe I've done this first name, I've sorted by, you can see sort column. Maybe I've sorted it by something else. If I'm now writing my all or all selected, and I only just put my first name as the filter, it will not work. So I need to put my first name and then the column I'm sorting it by, both in that my DAX measure. So here now, if I had sort my first name by maybe last name, so I will not just close it here. After I've done my distaff, okay, let me do my distaff first name here. After I've done this, I'll still put comma. And then the other column I've filtered it, I've sorted it by. So I'll just come here and then I'll do the underscore staff last name. So these two columns must be my DAX. If not, this will not work. Do you get what I'm saying? Or let me see if it would work. But let me just give it a try. Let me see if it would work. I want to actually go sort down my I want to sort this data by the last name. I doubt it would work anyway, but let's just see. Sort by column, last name. Okay. So let me see. Okay, still loaded. Let me see. Yep, so it worked. So you can see now my all. What happened to my all? Even my my all selected, if I uncheck this now, let me just close the filter. My all selected is still working. Let me see. Let me look at the formula again. For whatever reason, my all selected is still working. It was just supposed to work, but all good. Now, so you can see that my all is no more working. Why? Because I've sorted my column. There are instances to sort your column. Maybe your month now, you need to sort your month by the month number, or your year, you need to sort your year by the year number. So when you use your all, and you're all selected, it may not work. It may not work. The reason why it will not work is because there's a sort by column, and in your DAX, you didn't specify that sort by column. So I'll need to come back here. If I want to make my all work, I need to come back here. Instead of me closing here now, I'll now come back here and I'll do comma. So that means there's another column. Remember that I said you can go not series of columns. It's not just, you're not limited to a single column. You can go a number of columns to actually build whatever it is you want to build. So come here now, I will now specify that order. So I'll go under this stuff again, and then I'll specify the last name. So once I close this last name, close this again. If I press enter now, my all would work now. Yep. So my all is working back because of that sort by. So once you have sorted your column by something else, then you need to specify the entire column you've sort it by. Are we good? Did you get my gist? Do you get what I'm saying? Is this clear? I hope I'm not too fast. We are, oh, Blessing saying no. Oh, okay. I guess that was before. Okay, Muslim is saying good. If you're not clear, please unmute. I'm just you can see I'm using a screen, so it can be difficult to pick your messages in the chat. So if you're not clear, you can just mute. I want to believe I've not lost anybody. It was advanced that to call it. This is not even so-called advanced. So I expect us to be on our toes. But if even with that, it may be advanced for you. The word advanced is relative. So it may be advanced for you, maybe too advanced for you. You need to call me back and then I can see how I can manage the class. That's why I'm the facilitator here. So this is all selected. This is all. The next one is what we call the all except. The all except. So I'm looking at I should finish everything that's by 3:45 so that we can use the 15 minutes for Q&A. So we can use the 15 minutes for Q&A. If you can't ask now, maybe by that time you probably will be able to ask questions. So now let's look at all except. All except. All except is not related to all and all selected. Of course, they're all filter functions, but it doesn't work the way all and all selected works. Let's see how it works. So if I come here now, I'll come back to my DAX table and then I do new measure. New measure. New measure here now, so I can call this all except equals to, of course, someone should put into calculate. What am I calculating? Someone should unmute this one, mic. What am I calculating?
The total sales.
Good, total sales. So I will do total sales, comma. The filter would be what?
All except.
Good, all except. So let's look at what all except does. It returns all the rows in a table except for those rows that are specified that are affected by the specified columns. So it will return everything. It will return the filter context will work except the specified column filters. So that's where it would that's what it's going to ignore. Okay, let's see how it works so that I think seeing how it works would make us understand it even more. So now all except is asking for two things, the table and column name. So these are the two important things it is asking for. What is the table you want to go filter by, and then what's the column name? So for this, I'll just come and say our D staff, since we are still on D staff, and then comma, and then I'll do first name. So if I close this now, let me go do something. Let me first remove that sub by I did. I remove that sub by I did, so that it doesn't affect every other thing. Let's do that. Okay. Let me just set by first name. That would work. Sort by yourself. Be sure that's work. Okay. So so if I put in my all except now, okay, I want to reduce this again. Let me make this a drop down so that it doesn't take too much of space. So now putting my all except now, you can see that it's so let me now do something. So let me put in my last name now. How am I doing? Put my first name drag it to the top. My last name, drag it up to, okay. So this, okay, this will still return what I need it to, because it's still the same. Let me put in my company name for this. The company name, got it here. So if you look at my all except now, so all except would return. Okay, everything will still filter. I want to do something so that it's you can see all except work real time. Okay. Okay. So Jane now. So all except is giving me what Margaret has sold. It's ignoring everything except, remember that we specified that the first name column should be what it's ignoring filter from. So first name column. So it should ignore from the first name column. It should ignore every other thing except the first name column. So that's what, except the first name column. So it ignores every other thing except this first name column. So I want to put in something else so that we can see how it ignores that. Let me see something not too much so that it is easier for us to see. Let me see title. But title still gives us the same thing because it's still the same person we are looking at. Let me see the contact name. Let me see if this will not be too long so that we can easily interpret what is showing. So Andrew, the contact name here is okay. It's still returning. Very hard to interpret this, but really it has worked. But the interpretation is what I'm finding hard to actually do here. Robert is this, Janet to us clause. But it's fine. I probably will still look at this even more. But I know it does work, but the interpretation is what I'm finding difficult to actually do now. So let's just look at something else, which is the what's it called? The remove filters and the keep filters. The remove filters and the keep filters. The remove filters works just like the all. So like I said, from the name, ignore filters. So remove filters is not like you are ignoring filters too. And then the other part is the keep filters works like the filter function or the where I mentioned earlier. So those are the two ways your DAX for remove and keep filters work. Okay, so now if I come here now to this part and then I do new measure, and if I do new measure, so let me use your remove filters first. So if I'll call this remove filters, and then remove filters equals to calculate expression is total sales, and then I want to say remove the filters from table name or column name. So basically, just like your all or off selected, what's your table name? So I'll just come here and then I say this stuff. So you want to take from this stuff. So let me take out this all except so that I can put in my remove filters. Okay. Okay. So you can now see that. Let me take out my contact name. So you can see that remove filters would also work like the all. and then all selected, but it works majorly like the all. So there's really no difference between the all and the remove filters. The only difference between the all and the remove filters is this. The all can be used to create a table. If I come here now, if I come to, okay, let me come under modeling. If I come under model, if I say a new table now, right, you probably just want to create a new table. I can use the all function to create a new table, but new filters will not be used, can't be used. If I come here now and I do all, you can see that all will work. But if I come here and then I do remove filters, you will not see remove filters as functions are available for a table. But if I come here and then I do all would be available because it can be used to create a table. But remove filters would not be, cannot be. So that's the only difference between the two. The remove filters and the all can be used to create a table, remove filters cannot. So that is the only difference between this all and then the remove filters. I've told you the difference between the all and all selected, and then remove filters works just like all selected too. But like I said, all would not be, you can be used to create a table, but remove filters cannot be used to create a table. So if I come here now, let's say I want to doing this, click on this, click on this. So you can see that remove filters is still working like your all. It's still working like your all, but all selected will only work for those two things I've selected. And you and those are the two things it will work for. But remove filters will not work for the would work just like the all function. But all selected will only work based on the things I've highlighted. So this filter coming outside is affecting it. But remove filters will not be affected, all will not be affected. So, but the difference between the remove filters and all is that all can be used to create a table, remove filters will not create a table. And then remove filters are not selected. All selected works with external filter, remove filters does not work with external filter too. So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to create a measure, if you want to create a measure, you can use remove filters, you can use all. They both work the same way. But if you want to use, if you want to create a table, then you know that your all will not work, your remove filters will not work. It will be your all that you use in that sense. So that's just the major difference between these two. So now let's go into the other one, which is the keep filters. Keep filters. So if I come here to, if I come back here, then I do keep filters. Must confirm, is there supposed to be a break, kind of a 10 minutes, or we go, it's a marathon? So that
say that again. Is there supposed to be what?
It's supposed to be a break in between, or I just keep going on to the
No. Just run it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So now for this one, I'm going to say keep filters. So I'll call this keep filters. Keep filters. So I'm going to use calculate again. Calculate, and then the expression would be total sales, like we all know. And total sales, then I will use my filter will be what? Remove filters. Oh, sorry. It will be keep filters this time. And that was even a DAX measure, not a function. So keep filters. And then the keep filters is now asking what's the expression. I'll now say that where, so go to my D underscore staff, the first name, where is equals to what? Margaret. So like I said, it works just like your where and then the filter function. So underscore Margaret, close, and then I press enter. Once I do this now, what do you think would be the results? What's to help us? What do you think would be the results? What would you do? Before I put this in, what do you think would be the results once I put this in? What do you think would be the results? Who wants to help us? What would be the results before I put this in? What do you think would be the results before I tick it in?
Let me try. Toba.
Okay. I Kingsley, try this. Okay. Okay. Kingsley, go on. Hello. Is it from my end? I can't hear Kingsley. Can anybody hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. So I feel it will give us only Margaret sales. It will just filter down to just Margaret sales alone. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Shai. So let's see. Let's see. Keep filters. So yep, you are right, Kingsley. Remember that I had given it the instruction that it should keep the filter where the staff name is only equals to Margaret. So obviously it's going to work based on Margaret's sales amount alone. All right, so it works just like your where, and then the only difference that your where would, of course, it would replicate across, but your Margaret sales, your filter function will only be for Margaret, and then it works the same way. But now let's look at the difference between now the filter and then the keep filters. So if I come under here now, and then let me go to my modeling again. If I say new table, if I say new table here, and then I say equals to filter, I see that your filter works. I can have filter, and then okay. So if I come under here and then I say keep filter, I see that the keep filter is not showing. It's only keep filters, which is more like multiple filters, just like you have your filters. You know, just like you have your filter, you have your filter, you have your filters. But what we used in that situation was your keep filter. But for creating a table, you will not say keep filter. You only see keep filters, which is multiple conditions. But keep filter will not work if you want to create a table. But filter function work either you're creating a table or you want to use it for a measure. Are we together? Do you get the difference? If I go back to that measure I created now, you see that what we used was what? Keep filter. Let me go back to it. So you can see that what we, I use keep filters. So let me use keep filters. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it's keep filters. Sorry, it's keep filters. It's basically would work then. Yeah, so it's keep filters. I use not keep filter. Oh, I might have been saying keep filter, but it's keep filters. Sorry, that was an error. It's keep filters. It's keep filters. Then I had to come back myself and be sure what I use. So keep filters would work, especially if it's a table, if it's a measure. Yes, but filter would also work. So it works basically the same way then. So that means I've been wrong in my head. In my head, I've been saying keep filter, keep. So, but basically filters would work. If it's a table or not, filter work if it's a table or not. Keep filters will work if it's a measure or a table. It's just like your filter would work. All right, so that's how that works. So, like I said, these are ways to actually use these DAX measures when it comes to your what's it called? To Power BI. So if you want to work on any filter, anything that relates to filter, most of the time you will be using these filter measures. But like I said, if I take it to Microsoft documentation now, if I take it to Microsoft documentation, there will be there's divers of let me see if I come back here now. If I say filter measure, let me come under on. But let me put in Power BI. Okay, I think that's it. So the filter function. If I come here now, so I'm going to Microsoft Lens so that you all can see how this works. So if I come here now, under here now, you see that under the filter functions, there are lots of other filter functions. We've looked at the all. There's the all cost filter, all except. There's the all no blank row. So there are lots of what's it called, filter functions that are related to filter. If I want to go under, maybe I don't want to do by filter. I want to go to aggregation functions. Open this up, you see your average, a count, some like I said earlier, your date and time, to your financial functions. So there are diverse of functions, DAX function. You only the ones that, and then they are good by what they are used for. The ones that are related to filter, you see everything under the filter function. The ones that are financial related, you see them under here. If you want to go under aggregate, if you want to go under dates, that's your time intelligence. If I close this now, I want to go under date and time. You can see your calendar, your dates, diff, your dates, a whole lot. And then there are still some other ones here as well. Time intelligence, text functions, table, statistical. So lots of functions, math and tweak functions. So there are lots of functions. So don't just think that these ones that we've done today are the only DAX functions available under filter. No, there are lots of. That's why I have to put it, because there are lots of other DAX functions. We may maybe at another time we may probably still look at even some DAX functions even more. But I tell you for a fact, most of the time, 99.5% of the time, these are the ones we've done today are the ones you use when it comes to filter functions. You probably will not need. Let me go back again. But because I know some probably may ask, that's why I'm going through this. You probably may not need this all no blank row, all cost filtered. Of course, calculated, you probably will need to use it too. All these ones, okay, lookup value, you probably may need to use it. Other bar, you probably need range and all. So, but the major ones are the ones I've mentioned. Maybe so I'll put it at 95% of the time. You will need these ones I've done in class, but the other time you probably will not need the other ones. So your roll number, all this Gordon sum, you probably will not need them. Window, you probably will not need them. There are some that I've not even used ever since I've been building solutions. So it's not that you know everything when it comes to DAX. Just know the ones that you would need or the ones that would be good for you, because I know what you've done today may be overwhelming for some people. So you don't need to start, there's still more, I need to put everything in my head. No, just know the important ones for you, and then others would, if you need it, just go and see how it works and then you apply it. But if you don't need it, just leave it out. It's not compulsory, you know everything. All right, so enough of my story. Let's come back to Power BI. Let's come back to Power BI. So now we want to do something. Let's look at, let's see how we can apply this case study to something realistic. Of course, these are realistic too, but let's look at this data and then let's see something we can do. So let's say we can apply these key filters in some other DAX functions. All these functions we've done. Let's say we can apply it in some other DAX related work. So in that case, let me see, what can we do? Let's say we want to get the, let's use a variance kind of function. We want to get the difference between what Margaret, since we have used Margaret as a benchmark, what Margaret sold compared to other people. Or want to see, maybe not Margaret, so let's see what did each person sold compared to our total sales. Let's not use Margaret as a benchmark. Let's use what did Margaret's, or maybe we can do the two. You do what other people sold compared to Margaret as a benchmark, because of course we may be in that situation. And let's see what they sold compared to the total sales. So know that Margaret is contributing so percentage to our total sales. Variance can be two ways. It could be in percentages, it could be in absolute. So there's absolute, there's relative variance. So we can do in types of number. So this is the number of in terms of differences between Janet sales to Margaret sales. And so we could also do percentages for maybe the sales compared to the total sales. So I will just do one absolute to compare the difference between Janet and Margaret. That would be what people want to see, actually. Well, in terms of number, how did Janet differ from Margaret? How did Nancy differ from Margaret in terms of absolute numbers? And then in terms of relative, we now look at what Margaret contributed to the entire sales, what Janet contributed to the entire sales, and the likes. So that would make more sense when it comes to reporting. So let me duplicate this table. Okay. Let me reduce this table. Have I lost anybody so far? Like I said, if you are lost, you need to unmute your mic so that I can. So let me just copy this. Let me duplicate this. Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V. Now that we've known how this works, so you are going to be the one to actually help me. You are going to be the one to help me. I'll probably just do this sort of work here. You'll be the one to direct which of these ones to use in each situation. So let me take off this. Let me take off this. Let me take off this. Take off this. 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 Okay. So now we have what each person sold. Okay, so let me sort it by, maybe not. Let me leave it like this. So it's sorted alphabetical in the alphabetical order. So now let's see what we can do to say, let's compare. Margaret is the benchmark. Let's compare what each person sold. What's the difference between what Andrew sold to what Margaret sold, which is our benchmark? We are assuming Margaret is our benchmark. So let's compare what Andrew sold to what Margaret sold. What's the difference between their performance? So who can tell me how to go by that? Who can tell me how do we go by that? How do we achieve such in this situation?
Hi.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we'll have to calculate calculate whatever Margaret sold first. So we'll kind of filter where sales equals to what's it called? What's the table called now? Okay, staff ID equals Margaret. Then we'll now say total sales minus the value. So
Total sales minus what Margaret sold.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so you've done it English wise, you've said it. So now DAX. Let's see how we can write in DAX. Let me do difference. Sales difference. Let me just use it makes sales diff equals to, okay, so how do you first thing first? What do we put? Finish your job, help us. Let me see who's speaking. Who's helping us? Who's helping us?
Blessing.
Huh?
Yeah, so okay. So it would be like equals to that will be total sales.
Okay, total sales. Minutes, my best loaded. Okay, total sales
Minus, then we'll do a calculate.
minus, okay, calculate.
Yes.
Calculate what?
Total sales. Comma where first name equals Margaret.
Equals to Margaret. Would this work? Would this work?
I doubt, because that total says that. Are you sure we should do it? Okay.
No, speak, Latifat.
I'm thinking if we use total sales, since we want the difference to be for each of the what would I call it, the sales person. Are we not supposed to specify?
No, we don't need to specify. It's going to be the total. Remember that what each person has made will still be filtered by individual itself. So from the total sale, we will still be filtered by what each person did. So if you are specifying, you don't need to even specify. So just the total sales minus this. So actually, she's correct, I believe. So let's just put it in so you can see. So this is there's a difference of, maybe I should, okay, difference of 72 for, what's it called, Andrew. Anne was 7. So you can see that there's a difference. Margaret was, of course, she was the benchmark, so she met it. So this. Now, the only difference was, well, you could go this route, but instead of going this route, since you've written the DAX formula before, you may not need to do all this again. You are repeating what you've done before. So I can just come in and then say which of the, anyone, I can use anyone, maybe keep filters, the one we did for keep filters. That function will go to here, keep filters. So I just say this minus keep filters. It still will give us the same thing. Do you get? Because we've written that function before. Or I could use max sales 2. I could use, which other one again? Margaret sales 2. So anyone, because I've written it before, I don't need to go over it using calculate again to write what I've written before. But if you want to go that route, it's fine. Do you get me, Blessing?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that help. Now let's go to the next one. The next one is want to get the percentage difference. Want to get the percentage difference. So who wants to help us? How can we get the percentage difference between between what, not percentage difference, sorry, the percentage of what each contributed to our total sales. What's the percentage? Remember that you want to communicate this now. If I say, I think this has changed. Sorry, minus key filters. What's my key filters again? So let me just see what's my key filters. Okay, let me use the one for, where's the sales div? Let me use max sales 2. So it's max sales 2 I'm supposed to use. Yep. So I'm saying that if I want to, this is quantifiable. I can say that the difference between Andrew to our benchmark, the benchmark we stated for Andrew to meet, Andrew differed or deviated by 72, is this million or thousand, $70,000 or euros, whatever currency it is. And deviated by 167, Janet deviated by 37. So that's what is left for Janet to meet the benchmark. So this makes more sense when it comes to business. You are giving more information out in your reports. Don't just put 177. That's what they sold. What is the benchmark? Compare against our benchmark. That's what makes more sense when it comes to presentation. Like when it comes to reporting, don't just report numbers. What happened? And we know that's what happened. But can you compare against the benchmark? Can you compare against their previous year performance? Can you compare against different things? So this is way better to report by. All right. So next one we want to do is to report by what we call to say, okay, what's the percentage of what they've sold? Imagine I come to you and I'm telling you that Nancy sold 202,000 in this year. It may not really make so much of sense. But if I tell you that Nancy sold 50% of our total revenue, it would be like we have over 8 or 10 staff. Nancy alone has done 50%. That means she probably would do more than every other staff. Because 50% is a whole lot. You know how Nancy actually performed well, at least based on this data. But if I tell you 200,000, sorry, I tell you 200,000, you may still not be able to contextualize it as much as the percentage would do. So the percentage carries more weight when it comes to measurement. It carries more weight than a number. So if I to in this case, want to do the percentages, instead of us just saying Andrew total sales were 177, good, he sold this, but what's the percentage to the total sales? How much did his own contribution amounted to what we did, our overall performance in terms of our sales? So that's what I want to do. I don't know if that's clear. Is it clear?
Yes.
If that's clear, so who wants to help us? How can we go by this calculation again, based on your knowledge of what we've done so far?
Okay. So this
We'll
would
do
be
the
just like calculating, we'll be dividing total sales by the all of all total sales.
So all total sales by, so I'll say all. Am I saying all like this?
No.
All? You mean total sales?
Okay, we'll start this way, like we'll divide.
Okay, divide.
Total sales. Comma, then all.
All function.
Yes.
Okay.
Total sales.
Total sales. Total sales is not coming up.
I'll remove filters. We'll remove filters work.
Remove filters, the function.
Yes. Oh, we're not getting total sales. Okay. Oh, okay. We'll be using calculate.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be using calculate.
Calculate.
Total sales. Remove filters.
Remove filters.
From the D staff. I think, yes. Should it be remove filters on? Yes, this stuff. I think that's all. They'll close.
Close. Okay, then I close again. So if I put this in now, would it work? Let's see. So if I turn this to percentage, yeah. So so this is the contribution of each person to our entire revenue. Let me just explain what Margaret has said. Sorry, I said Margaret. Blessing has said. So we want to get the contribution of each person to the entire sales. Correct. So we, of course, the first thing will be we want to divide. What that means we have to divide what the overall performance, what each person did. So total sales, comma, that's the denominator. I hope I'm still getting the denominator right. Denominator is the one on top. So total sales will be on top. Numerator, I hope I'm not, but the one on top. So the one on top, that's the total sales. And then the calculate, the one that will be at the bottom, I think that should be numerator. I hope I'm not, denominator, numerator, I hope I'm not giving them for another. But the one underneath would be the performance, the total performance. So each person's performance divided by the total performance or the total sales. Each person's sales divided by the total sales. So that's what this split is saying. So for us to get the total sales, remember that I need to tell it not to ignore any filter. Just give me the total sales alone. Let's not filter it by anything. The difference between this and this total sales is this total sales will be filtered down based on these first names. Remember the filter context. we spoke about before. But this calculate total sales here, when you say ignore filter, remove filter, that means ignore any filter. There should be no filter context at all in your results. So that means it will not give me the 1 point, blah, blah, blah. Remember the all here, and then the remove filters there. Remember the one symbol, give me the 1.354. But this one now, this total sales will be giving me 250 divided by 1.1 for Margaret. Jenna to be 213 divided by the 1.1,354,000. So NAS will be 202 divided by the 1354. That's how we arrived at this. So that's simply what this means. And like I said, instead of you writing all this calculate again, if you have written it as a DAX before, you're going to go this out again, you can just specify. So if I just come here and then I specify it and then I say remove filters. So that remove filters function, DAX I wrote. So if I just come here and I put it, it will still work. It will still work because I've written it before. So instead of me going in, calculate, blah, 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 you may not need to go down. But if you have not written that before, you probably will just put calculate and then go the route of what we did now. So this is how we can use filter functions to get things done in Power BI. All right, so we looked at the filter function, we looked at the, what's it called? The where. Remember the where is something I coined. Don't say where is a function in Power BI. It's something I coined. And then the filter, the where, we looked at the keep filters, we looked at the remove filters, we looked at the all selected and all except. I don't know if there are questions. I've taken part of my time, so I also believe we can use the next 10, 11 minutes for questions and answers before I wrap up.
Thank you very much, Toba. Okay, looks like we have one now from Blessing. Blessing, please, you can go on.
Okay, yeah. So my question is, what's the difference? You explained keep filters, the difference between okay, what is keep filters? Of course you explained, but I still don't understand. Like, okay, I have an idea, but I don't know, sometimes I just should I say I don't get it sometimes, and so please an explanation on that would be fine. And also the difference between all and remove filters.
Okay.
Yes. So I know all is to okay, go on.
No. Go on. Let me still continue your question.
Okay, so you said all is a it will give you a table, while remove filters will I don't get that. So
okay.
That's my question.
So you're saying difference between keep filters and what?
All. Oh, okay. No, I mean keep filters, like just further explanation on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But for remove filters, then you compare that with all.
Yeah. Okay. So keep filters basically works like your filter. That means keep filters from this entity in a column. So I want to say keep the filter coming from the first name it's when it's equal to Margaret. Just like your equals to where equal this staff name last name equals to or first name equals to Margaret. So that's what keep filters does. It would also give you that same thing. It will ignore every other filter in that data. If you look at it here now, you can see that it's only giving me 250. If I click on the DAX measure now, so I said calculate. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, so calculate total sales and keep filters where the staff first name is equals to Margaret. So that is once I do that, it will only give me the value for Margaret, and then it will ignore every other person because of the filter I've added there, which I've told you to keep, which is the Margaret, when the first one is equals to Margaret. So that's what keep filters does. Now, the other question is, I don't know if is keep filters clear before I go to the other one.
Okay, yeah, it is clear and it's not clear because this is keep filters where first name equals to Margaret. So now imagine we have keep filters where something that is not from this I mean the filter context. So imagine we are saying a keep filter where maybe the customer city equals to a particular city, what happens then?
Yeah, so it would work, but of course, filter context, it will not, the DAX would work, but the filter context will not apply because your customer is not in this visual. Of course, the DAX in itself would work, but you now need to take it where it would work best is when there's a filter context that relates to the customer, which is the filter I've kept. So if I change this now to, let me see a customer. Let me put my customer here so that I know one customer name. Okay, Anna. Okay, and Devon. So if I come here now and then I change this to where the underscore customer equals to and Devon. All right, so of course that should work. When this situation, it would not really give me what I want because it's not clear. So you can see like, because it's not seeing this and Devon. So you can see. So you actually even give me a sum of, so it's spread it across. Yeah, so it's spread it across, but it will not give, so and Devon bought from Margaret, bought from Andrew, and okay, bought from Nancy, but so you can see it would work, but it's keeping that filter. But it's not giving what I want. It says that I want it for Margaret. But if I'm specifying customer, that's the customer called and Devon. So it's going, since it is related to the salespeople, so it's going to now break it down by saying, no, these are the people that he or she bought from. I know that's clear. But ideally, you don't put and Devon here, except maybe certain situations which you need it, but I don't think you need something like this. It has to be related to what is in the filter itself, the filter context. So that makes more sense.
Okay, okay. Yes, I get it now. Thank you.
Yep. So the other question is difference between the remove filters and the all. So like I said, the
Yes.
all, when you want to write a table, you want to create a table, you can still use the all to create a table to say, create a table and then ignore certain filters and all that. But your remove filters will not work with a table. It can only be used to write a measure. But all can be used to write a table, can be used to create a measure. Do you get?
Yes.
So that's
Okay.
the
Thank
major
you.
difference between the two. But outside of that, there's really no difference between the two. They work the same way. So any other question?
Okay, another question.
Okay.
So for the Max sales 2 and the Max Margaret sales.
Okay.
So I noticed you use Margaret for Margaret sales you use filter, and for Max sales you use you didn't, okay, it's not really a filter, like it's just something like where Margaret's or where staff equals to Margaret. So I don't know, like, what's the difference between both of them?
Yeah,
I mean,
so the
looking at the
difference between,
table here.
so the difference between both of them is if you use filter will only return that row that matches Margaret. But the equals to where Margaret first name is equals to Margaret would return for every return Margaret across. So it will return Margaret across, like you are seeing here. It return Margaret across, but filter will only return where it can find Margaret. So and then leave every other thing blank. So it depends on the context at which you want to use there. There are times where it will be that equal sign you want to use. There are times where you want to, like this one, easily, if it is the equal sign you have used, you can easily now say, what's the difference? You can use your eyes to see the difference between them. When you have not done your maybe division or your subtraction, you can now say that 213 to compare to 250, that's 4. 202 compared to this, that's 4. 177 compared to this, that's 5 off. But this one now, it's only going to work for Margaret alone. It's not going to be spread across. And then when you want to now get your differences again, it's still going to affect. So I think that's just the difference between the two. But really, there's no, so it depends on what you want to do. That's what determines which of these you would use?
Thank you.
Yep. Any other question? 3 more minutes or 2 more minutes, because I know Musa wants to round up in a minute too. Last question, a minute more, a minute more. Or if there are no questions, Musa, I think I'll drop the button here so you can continue from here. Thank you so much.
Okay. You clearly defined my role, Toba, which is to round up the session.
Oh, I'm going to wrap up the session.
No. I say you clearly defined my role. So and I'm here to do that, which is fine. All right. Thank you very much, Toba. I really do hope that those of us on the call that we stayed through, we've been able to pick one or two things. So it's usually expected when we talk about DAX. It's a case of many were called, a few answered, something like that. Um, DAX can get easily complicated. It can get easily confusing, and depending on how much hands-on you have on DAX, that is what will solidify your knowledge of DAX. So it's not necessarily about having to watch a lot of tutorials or jumping from a course to the other. DAX doesn't work that way. So the way it works is you've learned something, you try to apply it on your own data set, see the kinds of results it's returned, try to figure out what differences in result would you get if you switch certain functions in place of another. So you use remove filters, you see what would happen if you do all of the switches. So that's where you get a bit more familiar with it. A couple of times documentation would work too, but not all the time. So you might want to check a few documentation, especially the one from Microsoft. And I think there's another abridged one that some guys put together for they call it DAX documentation. So if you could get your hands on that as well, that would really be helpful in your DAX journey. But summary is, as much as you learn new concepts, new functions, new topics in DAX, what makes sense more is to practice on your own data set and you review what kinds of results you get. That way you will get a better angle of what all of this can do, and you appreciate the power in DAX a lot more. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending the Analytics Mastery series for the month of August. And it's a pleasure having us around, sharing knowledge with ourselves. We'll continue with this next month by God's grace, last Saturday of the month, most likely. And we can always look forward to announcement around that over social media platform, and hopefully we're going to share some other things with us as we go on. The recording for the session will also be available maybe tomorrow or thereabout. Will be shared on LinkedIn and other platform, so you can catch up in case there's any other thing from there. Thank you, everybody, and let's enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Sorry, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Please, can we get the data set?
Okay. Toba, is this something we can share? Nothing. It can go public, right?
Yeah, it's a public data set. You can go back to the public keying platform.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll share that alongside the. I will share that alongside the recording for the session on my LinkedIn. We can keep an eye out for that. Hopefully tomorrow, by God's grace. All right.
Okay, sir,
Thank you. Okay, yeah. Thank you, everybody. See us at other times.